I will call this Bryan City Board of Education regular meeting to order on Monday, August 17th. If you please join me in pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Scott. Here. Ben. Here. Deb.
Here.
Dustin.
Here.
Michael. Here. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, we should have all received the minutes from the regular meeting in July, as well as the July 27th special board meeting, and also the August 7th special board meeting. Did anyone notice any corrections or additions to those minutes? Hearing none, I would accept a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as the same.
Thank you, Dustin. Mike, thank you. Next, we have public
Madam President,
Yes.
you have to take a vote.
Oh, yes, we do. Please.
Scott.
Yes.
Ben.
Yes.
Deb.
Yes.
Dustin.
Yes.
Yes.
Mike. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next is public participation. If there's any. Okay, moving on to communications. I believe Mark's going to start us off there.
Yeah, so I received our Fort County communications from Cinder Keeler, and this is her update on Fort County Career Center. So it says, as of now, Fort County is included in the Henry County Schools restart plan for the 2020-2021 school year, with that saying the parts that affect Fort County. Where applicable, seating in all classrooms will be spread out. Masks are mandatory at all times, unless eating meals, and the school has stocked up on plenty of hand sanitizer. There is a plan to go fully remote if mandated. Students still need to put their hands on an engine in automotive technology. Health career students have to learn how to draw blood from a real human. In-school learning is still the best option. It goes on to say that summer school was a success. It was 3 weeks with students participating online. 61 students earned 89.5 credits. Exciting news for the health career students. Fort County now has an automatage table. This table comes preloaded with virtual human cadavers. This table will help students study anatomy through digitally imposed photographs of organs and systems. The usual retirements, resignations, hires, and FMLAs were approved, and we wish everyone the best as we walk into the 2020-2021 school year. So that is
Thank
the
you.
Fort County report.
Thank you, Mark. And do you, off the top of your head, have an idea of how many Bryan City School students are attending this fall at Fort County, a ballpark figure, or?
Typically that number is between about 50 and 60 per graduating class,
Okay,
so we're still holding true to about the same numbers.
all right. So that be from each the junior and senior classes?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but I thought that might be.
That's okay.
All right, next will be our introduction of new staff.
All right, so at this time, we're going to have our administrators introduce our new staff members. We have 4 of them with us here tonight. So we're going to start with Mrs. Karen Cox, who will start with some of our elementary staff members.
Yeah, so we'll start with Brittany Drugan right here. She's our 4th grade teacher. She comes to us with 8 years experience. And then we have Chelsea Tappan. She's our 3rd through 5th grade music teacher, and she comes with 8 years experience. And then we have Mr. John Shell. He is the intervention specialist at St. Pat's, and he comes to us with 9 years experience. So welcome.
We'll move on to Mr. Allspaw at the middle school, high school.
We have with us tonight, we have Rhonda Gibson. She is our brand new 6 through 12 school psychologist. So this is your first year with Bryan.
Welcome all.
All right.
And I think as we discussed, we're going to take a little bit of a break to enjoy some refreshments and also speak if we can to our new employees.
If it's okay, we'll do our administrative reports first, and then
That'd be
we'll
great.
take that quick break so we can all
Okay.
say hi and congratulate them
Very
welcome them to Bryan City Schools.
good. Very good.
So we will first start with our athletic director, Mr. Savage.
Thank you, good evening. Well, fall sports have been going since August 1st. Our coaches continue to monitor the protocols, and we're maintaining those records just in case the health department needs that information for contact tracings. The golf team had their 5th event today, the Patrick Henry Invitational, which they actually were crowned the champions over Henry County. The tennis team has had 3 events, girls tennis. The volleyball team has had 3 scrimmages. Next week, cross country will start. If we get the green light tomorrow, which we're hopeful, for football and soccer. The girls soccer team is going to host Salina on Friday night, and the boys team will travel to Salina on Saturday afternoon. Again, we're hoping for a green light for competition between teams, still following the protocols and guidelines that are set forth by the Department of Health, the governor's office, and our local health department. It could mean limited spectators. We're not sure of that yet. We've heard a certain percentage of capacity. We've also heard so many per student athlete. So that's where we stand with that. So the football team will open up on the road the 28th at Archwood. We went through a whole athletic department, all the ADs. We met and we restructured in order to fit into what the mandates came down from OHSAA. So that's where we stand with fall sports. We're looking forward to hopefully getting the green light tomorrow to be able to host some soccer and football as well. So questions for me?
A quick question. Do we have updated schedules out for people as they stand now for football and soccer? Has soccer changed at all, or is it?
Soccer has not changed at all.
Okay.
Football, the first 6, and then our games are set, and those have been out there.
Okay.
And then week 9 is our last league game. So we went ahead and we tried to keep as much as possible the current schedule for the fall of 2020. We took weeks 5 through 10, we moved them to 1 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then our week 4, which is our Wasion game, we moved that to week 9. With playoffs being week 7 and then hopefully 8. Right now we're open week 8, and then 9, 10, 11, we have Wasion would be our last league game, and then 10 would be Hanward, which we've communicated with them, and we're in agreement, and we're online on Arbor contract-wise, and then Fairview, week 11. And then that'll be the end of our regular season right there. So up through around November 6th. So those aren't out there yet as far as weeks 10, 11, and they're all because they're subject to change. If Wasion, we're still in the playoffs, then it may back us up a week. Or if one of the other teams, Fairview's still in the playoffs, it may back us up a week. So depending on how teams do in the playoffs, week 7, 8, 9, it may be subject to change. 1 through 6 are locked in. Week 7 is playoffs, and then from there, we have some that are tentatively set, but it's subject to change based on the results of games that are going to happen.
Should we experience or be mandated or told about restricting the crowd, do we have a way by which to live stream, or have there been any thoughts about how we might?
Oh, most definitely. We're actually meeting with EMU tomorrow.
Okay.
And we're going to go through some protocols there that we're trying to set up to do the football. The volleyball, we've already had a dry run with that. We have this huddle component that we are using through our school YouTube account. And then we're also talking right now about potentially doing some soccer out in the park. I guess the holdup there is some high-speed internet access. It's something that we need to have in order for that to work. So football and volleyball, yes. And then a couple others we're in the works on.
Okay, thank you.
And Chad, those will be live?
And they'll be live, yes. The football will be live and the volleyball will be live.
Okay.
We're not sure on soccer yet.
Okay.
We're still trying to work on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, the OHSAA,
Waived
it
the...
used to be delayed. It could be delayed like 10 o'clock on Friday night, but they've waived that for the fall of 2020.
Okay.
So we can streamline. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad. And I know Chad and TK do a wonderful job of keeping information at our fingertips, so they'll be sending updates out via social media and our district website once all these schedules and information is finalized from the OHSAA and the state of Ohio. So thanks a lot, Chad.
Fingers crossed for tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 2 o'clock, yeah.
Be a lot of people tuning in, I'm sure.
So too.
All right, next up, we have our Director of Grants and Operations, Mr. Bassett.
Good evening. A couple grants updates, and then just cafeteria-wise, we're ready for kids. The health department walked through, approved our plan of kind of traffic flow and how we're going to serve kids. It's going to be a little different. As I tell our staff today, we think we have a good plan in place till day one, and the kids walk through, and we may say, after the first lunch period, we need to tweak something, or after day one, or it just might flow. So I think that's going to be the motto for the year, right? Be ready to adjust as we go. We think we have a good plan to get kids through the line in a relatively quick fashion by maintaining the social distancing that we do. On the grant department, we have received 3 additional grants that we normally don't receive. The first one is a school site intern grant. We're fortunate enough to partner with the University of Toledo to have a school site. That's $28,476 to receive to be able to pay for that school site intern. That was great to see. And also, CRF Rural and Small School District grant, again, came out of the COVID-19 relief issues. $100,572. This is a pretty restrictive grant. We can't just kind of open it up to anybody. The extra cleaning tools, extra things that we have to purchase to sanitize, to make school happen in this COVID era. Restricted, but again, very helpful. Then a big grant, the CARES Act, we call it the ESSER grant. It came out of the CARES Act, $285,028. We're using this grant. This is a little less restrictive than the small town and small community grants. We can use this for personnel that are directly involved with our response to COVID. So we're able to use that for some salaries of personnel that are working on COVID-related issues. So, every dollar helps. So we're fortunate that those came through. Questions you guys have?
Thank you. All right, thanks, Mr. Bassett. Next up, we have Mrs. Cox.
Well, good evening. First off, I want to say, I feel like I always start off by thanking people, but in this time of uncertain times, we definitely need to be thanking our custodians. Our principals are working extra hard. Our teachers are working extra hard. We had our back to school pre-K to 5 staff meeting last week, going over procedures, changing procedures, making things work in order for our kids to be here at school. So super excited about that. Like Chad said, we had the health department walk through some of our classrooms, make sure we were social distancing, looking at some of our procedures. I also wanted to do a big shout out because Spangler Candy and their engineers with their plexiglass in our kindergarten, trying to get all of that has been absolutely wonderful. It's making our teachers happy. It's going to make our kids safe. So we're excited about that. Last Friday, our teachers learned about the platform for student engagement in case we were to need to be remote. K-2 would be using the Seesaw platform, and then 3rd through 5th grade would be using Google Classroom. It's good platforms, good ways to engage our students if we were to need to go to remote learning. We are prepared. School is just around the corner. Wednesday is our first day for our 1st through 5th grade students, actually all students, except for our preschool cub and kindergarten. That is a boys only day. That Thursday then would be girls only, and then Friday would be all cub, kindergarten, and preschool. September 9th, we have our school pictures, and I'm sure he was on the news tonight. If anyone watched the news tonight, our school therapy dog Catcher, he's been getting a lot of interviews. We've been contacted a lot, but he was on the news tonight, so we continue to share that information. We're hoping that parents will share that information with students, so students will be able to see Catcher and have a familiar face, someone that they can recognize and hug if they wish. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Cox. And representing the middle school and high school today, we have the high school principal, Mr. Alstott.
Good evening, everybody. I wanted to take this moment to open up with kudos to our staff, starting off with our custodial staff. If you ever see a building during the summer months and you see all the things that they do, the job that they do across the summer, you sometimes can't help but stand there and go, how is this going to happen? How is this all going to come back together? And they are such a well-oiled machine. They come back, they get the building back together. It looks fabulous. You know, if you had gone in the building a couple weeks ago, you still would have seen tables out, you would have seen spots needed painting. And in that period of time, they have done just a marvelous job. So big kudos to our custodians. Also wanted just to our athletic department. I mean, you've heard Chad talking a little bit ago, but the challenges that he and TK have been going through this summer and into this fall, and addressing sports and all the unknowns, I have to give them such kudos to that. We were at a league meeting a couple weeks ago, and as administrators and athletic directors, we were sitting there talking about things, and the challenges that we face as a league in regards to the unknowns and the uncertainties that are out there. And, you know, Chad's been right there on the front line keeping up with them. He comes down and talks, and we talk periodically, several times a day, in some cases, depending on what's happening. And it's just been really good to have that communication. But also, I just really appreciate what he and TK are doing to keep our sports and making it possible for all our students. That phase 1 and phase 2 process that we went through, that really has a lot to do with him and TK. Just to our staff in general, I mean, secretaries, teachers, just this level of energy, the smiles, the desire to be back with students and to be back together, and the pleasure that comes from that. I wore my smiley tie today just to kind of to help as we were all back together today in our staff meeting, and it was just really great, the conversations and the camaraderie that came about through today, and so really just lots of kudos there to everybody. And also to my colleagues, Bryan and Julie, the three of us. I was telling the staff today that there's a lot of challenges in regards to things that are coming back, and for us, the three of us, we're kind of like the three amigos. When it comes to things, we are always bouncing ideas off each other, always talking, and it's really good to have that type of a trio to work together and bounce ideas off, and it's really just, it's been enjoyable in that regards. If you have a child, hopefully in the middle school or high school level, you've been seeing the messages that our staff has been sending out, introducing themselves. They did towards the end of last year, we did these senior spotlights for the class of 2020. Well, we turned around and we took that and we changed it for teachers, and teachers have been sending out communications. And it's really neat to see what the teachers have to say and how they're reaching out to the students to establish things before they come into the building on Wednesday. So it's one of those things where, I don't know who my teachers are. Well, you probably haven't been checking your email, but the messages that the staff is sending out, some of them are really funny, they're very heartwarming, they're very welcoming. So I really can't say enough of that for our staff. They're doing a great job that way. School pictures, believe it or not, they're Friday of this week. Friday this week. So that's going to be coming up real quick. We've got a plan for that to help keep that flowing and keep our students socially distanced throughout the process. So we'll see how that goes. We'll be using the gym, and that'll be a new experience for us in that way. And then one final thing. I wanted to give a big shout out to class of 2020 graduate Sarah Bryan. Sarah had a piece called Floyd. It's a dry point etching, and I was able to get a picture of it. Matt Neff sent it to me, and I have it on my Twitter, and I have it on my Instagram account, so if you see any one of those, you have a chance to actually see this piece. It's a beautiful sketch etching of a car, and she won a Scholastic National Silver Key for that, which is pretty impressive. I know when I say a silver key, but we've actually won a number of gold keys, and the silver keys are just as hard to earn as the gold keys, and it's just kind of neat to see that it's there. So if you're ever in the 612 building and you're in Matt Neff's room, it's hanging in there for you to see. But Sarah Bryan did a marvelous job, and like I said, if you want to see the image, it's out on my Twitter and it's out on my Instagram. So, any questions? Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all our administrators for the reports. It's nice to see some new faces back at our meetings. It's been quite some time since they've been able to be present with us. So if it's still okay, we're going to do just a short meet and greet with the board members and our new staff members, and We'll just break for about 5 minutes and resume the meeting at about 7:25. And there's cookies and refreshments and water over here, so they can stand up, we'll stand up, and we'll just introduce ourselves and say hi, and then we'll resume our meeting.
We'll begin with the cash reconciliation report for July 31st, 2020. At Farmers and Merchants Bank, we had $4,594,722.87. Total adjustments of $358,026.32. Total investments of $11,337,532.74. And petty cash funds of $4,500 for a total fund balance of $15,578,729.29. In addition to that, your normal monthly financial reports were in your board packet as well. Were there any questions on those reports? So moving on, I wanted to talk a little bit about our income tax receipts. We received at the end of July the income tax receipts that the Ohio Department of Taxation collects from April 1st through June 30th. In a typical year, that would include the payments that were received with the annual tax return, which is due on April 15th. As you know, that tax due date was moved to July 15th and therefore was moved out of this quarter. Because of that, and also a decrease in withholding taxes, our net tax receipts for the quarter went down from $1.18 million last year to only $866,000 this year, which is a 27% decrease. Of that decrease, a 44% decrease in those payments with tax returns was seen. I anticipate that we are going to see that amount, which was about $188,000, show up next quarter. 2019 was a good year. 2019 was arguably a better year than 2018. So there really is no reason, aside from inability to make that tax payment, for us to see a decrease in the amount paid with tax returns. So I believe that that is entirely attributable to the delay from April 15th to July 15th. So I am very hopeful that we will see an extra $188,000 in that category next quarter. We did, however, see a 13% decrease in our withholding taxes and a similar decrease in estimated tax payments. That represents a real loss of income in our district and I believe a real loss of income tax for that quarter. Were to continue at that rate for the entire year, that would be about $440,000 less than what we received last fiscal year in income tax. I am hopeful that instead that's a low tide. People are returning back to work, the economy is picking back up. I know that they are looking for, there are a lot of job openings right now in and around Bryan. So I am hopeful that we will see an increase, and while probably still down year over year, that it will not be down quite as severely for that next quarter. In good news though, we also received early in August our property tax distribution for the second half of calendar year 2020, and that amount was actually up. We were only anticipating receiving $3,093,000 in property tax to the general fund, and instead we received $3,112,000, an increase of about $20,000 over what we had projected to receive for the general fund in property tax. And we saw similar increases in the bond fund and the permanent improvement fund as well. That's not entirely unexpected. We were expecting to receive about the same amount that we received last year because we have not seen, unlike we saw in 2008, a crash in property values. As a matter of fact, the property market in Bryan is it's a seller's market, and home prices are going up, and they're selling at higher and higher prices. So that's, fundamentally good news for the district. And so while we do have some challenges in the income tax, our property tax revenues remain stable at this point. Any questions on those income tax or property taxes? Okay, I will go ahead and move on to my recommendations. The first recommendations is the tuition rates for 2020-2021 school year as set by the Ohio Department of Education, and the in-state tuition rate $6,355.82. The out-of-state tuition rate $10,180.23. Next is the athletic pay rates for the 2020-2021 school year. For the most part, this is unchanged from last year. We had a couple of long-term serving individuals for the football program who have chosen to retire for this year, and where in the past we had paid with athletic passes, we are changing those positions to $20 a game, and we are additionally changing the chain gang pay from $50 a season to $20 a game. All other athletic pay rates are remaining the same. We also have a Meta, which is one of our purchasing consortiums, a Meta resolution for bus bids. Meta asks us to pass a resolution for bus bids every year. We are, in fact, looking at potentially purchasing a bus this year, and we'll certainly be looking at Meta as one of our avenues for that bus purchase. Next is the CHWC, St. Patrick's, and BCS Speech Services program. This is a tri-party program because this contract uses grant funds, which we manage on behalf of St. Patrick's, but this is for their students' speech services. Next is to grant eligibility for employees on unpaid leave for health, vision, and dental insurance at the employee's cost. This is to clarify that our employees that go on long-term unpaid leave for illness or parenting are eligible participants at the normal rates for the health insurance, but at their own cost. The board does not contribute to health insurance when employees on unpaid leave, but this permits them to remain on our program. Next, I'm asking permission to advance from the general fund to the food service fund $100,000. We always have to advance the food service a little bit of money at the beginning of the year as they are buying food but not yet selling lunches. We do anticipate needing to make some portion of this a permanent transfer because we are not going to be able to sell some of our high revenue items, particularly the a la carte items at the high school. Fundamentally, we think that the food program is in a good, healthy place, but because of the challenges of COVID, we're not expecting to end the food program in the black this year. But it's a little too early for us to tell exactly where it's going to end. So at some point, I will come back and make a recommendation on final transfer. For now, we're just going to advance the funds. Asking your permission to establish a couple of funds. Fund 507, the ESSER CARES Grant Fund, and the 510 CRF Rural and Small Town School District Coronavirus Relief Fund, both of which Mr. Bassett spoke about in his report. And then permission for the Student and Wellness Success Funds to supplant existing programs. We've discussed this a few times. This is to take the funds that we've been granted by the state of Ohio and use them for the existing programs that are applicable. And then finally, we want to recognize some donations. We received $1,000 for wrestling from an anonymous donor, $500 for the athletics department from an anonymous donor, $500 for the golf team from Thomas and Susan Herman. We received book bags and lunchbox from Howard Vreeland and Anderson Vreeland Company, and we received $2,500 for face masks from the United Way of Williams County.
All right. Any
How much do we normally advance the food service fund?
Last year, we advanced about $50,000, of which all was returned. So we're advancing about twice what we did last year, and I'm anticipating somewhere in the neighborhood of probably $60,000 to $70,000 that becomes a permanent transfer, but it's just very difficult to know at this point.
Anything else?
The permanent transfer because we aren't going to be selling certain items that make better revenue, you're saying?
Yes, we have certain items like the salad bar and the a la carte that are high revenue items. The cost to provide them is very low compared to what we sell them for. We're more constrained on the type A lunches, the main lunch that we serve, on what that cost can be, so it's not as good of a revenue generator.
motion to accept the treasurer's recommendations.
Thank you, Steph. Mike, thank you.
Ben,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Dustin,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
thank you.
And next, we have old business in the form of our COVID plans. So, Mark.
Yeah, that is the continued topic of discussion as we look to start our school year in just under 2 days with our students for the first time in over 5 months. So as our administrators noted, there is that back-to-school excitement in the air. Our staff have been reporting since Friday, and they have their staff breakfast and meetings again tomorrow, and then we are ready for the students to come join us on Wednesday. So with that, just a few updates for you in regards to our back-to-school responsible restart plans. So right now, we have about 10% of our student population has signed up for our virtual option. That is our ACE Digital Academy. We somewhat predicted that number. To put that into actual hard data for you, that is just over 200 students for the district that have signed up for that virtual learning option. In the recent weeks, we made some updates to our language should we ever have to move into the direction of remote learning for the entire district. The language basically now states along the lines of that if we were ever to hit red, the status level of red as a county, that we would go into direct consultation with the Williams County Health Department. And from there, we would seek appropriate guidance to learn, is this outbreak or is the data from an isolated event or from an isolated location? For example, it could be a nursing home or it could be a specific entity within the county that would create that spike. Or is this more of a community spread? It's happening across all the communities in the county, and the best way to slow it down is to go remote. So we would have those discussions, and that would keep us in school as those decisions are being made, because that data right now comes out every Thursday or at around 2 o'clock p.m. That would give us the rest of the work week to figure out some answers and then communicate whatever plan is deemed necessary to our stakeholders later that Friday or the weekend as we prepare for the next work week or the next school week. So I think that was a very beneficial change for us here as a county. Our teachers have been going through, when they got back into their work days, they went through a remote professional development, and they learned how to utilize some more features of Seesaw and Google Classroom. They also learned some communication tools, and some of you may have experienced those as they reached out to you to explain or to meet and greet and introduce themselves as their teacher for your son or daughter. So they're using that new technology. Just on Saturday, and this is really fresh, just on Saturday, the governor's office came out with a modified mask order that declared that face shields were determined by the CDC to not be regulated as the most safe option for students and staff to wear as they come back to school. So they sent out guidance asking and recommending that cloth face coverings like we're all wearing tonight are the recommended best practice, and only for certain exemptions or exceptions should the face shields be utilized. I just recently, in the last 2 hours, sent out some district communication on that topic. We have consulted with the Williams County Health Department today, we've consulted with our district nurse, and we've consulted here across the county with our other area superintendents, and we realized the facts are this mandate just came out on Saturday, and school starts Wednesday. It is a new order or recommendation, and anytime something is new, it can have tweaks and changes to it, so it's very fresh. And we know that we ourselves as a district used some of our CARES Act funds to help purchase face shields for our students and staff to help them enhance their learning and teaching. So we know all of those things, and we know that other students and families have purchased them themselves to wear. So with that being said, we are providing a lot of grace with this new mandate, and we will work diligently with the health department as we always do and follow any updates coming from the Ohio Department of Health. And we always want to adhere to the guidelines, but we're going to just take it slowly with this one and show patience and grace and understanding that if a staff member or a student is wearing a face shield as we come back to school, that we just want them to know that the guidelines have changed and we need to work on finding the appropriate ways to adhere to those guidelines. So we'll work through that with our staff and our students and get us to a point in which we can follow those. But again, Sometimes any face covering is better than nothing, so that transition is still going to go okay, and we will continue to monitor that new information. We also have given, and we're wearing them tonight, we've given every student and staff member a face mask, one like you're wearing, or the gator style that pulls up, so those are available to our students. Just a reminder, we're going to send out kind of a back-to-school checklist tomorrow, and just a reminder to everyone to check their temperatures and do a health screen, to wear your mask or grab your mask before you walk out the door, and to remember that at all times, keep your distance and wash your hands. Those are the 3 basics, and that's what the health department really promotes as well. So we'll get that information out just as a simple reminder. And it was, Mrs. Cox noted this, we've been working closely with Spangler Candy for our younger grade levels. They were able to transition some of their business production to create plexiglass dividers. So in our kindergarten classrooms and our preschool classrooms, by our food service cashiers, by our high traffic areas where all of our secretaries sit and the general public might interact with them. For our speech and OT services, we have plexiglass dividers that are being made and installed just to help either at circular table settings or on the job when you have to remove your mask and be able to do your job appropriately, so that barrier is there for safety purposes. So we're very thankful to Spangler Candy for all of their efforts and investing in our safety. So that is an update on the old business and COVID, and I feel like there's lots more, but those are the highlights as of now.
I did have just one question, Mark. So we had 200, a little over 200 chose ACE. Did we have any families choose total withdrawal from our district?
Every year there's a few withdrawals as people move and
Right.
jobs are taken. What we've seen maybe an influx of, and I would have to rely on past history, is maybe a few more homeschooling situations in which
Did they
parents have opted
express
to.
that that was due to the COVID or due?
Some yes, some are just general, maybe it's based on other information or
Okay.
based on other decision making that they utilize when making a decision. But I would say maybe a slight uptick, and I'll kind of rely on Diana for that.
Yeah, I
For
would
history.
agree. I think we've seen a few more.
Okay. And if due to COVID, they may, in fact, when this darn virus is behind us, choose to come back. I always take a breath when we have students pull out, because that's dollars and cents at the end of the day. Okay, thank you for that. Anything else from anyone?
Mark, what, at 200, what was the percentage number?
That's about 10%. We have just over 2,000 students in the district, and at last check, we were right around 230 students signed up for a virtual option.
Happy to hear the update on the red status, because that was my question. Was if it goes red, is that automatic? How are we handling that? So it sounds like we have some time in there to figure out if it's
Yep.
all in, if it all happens in school, then obviously that's an obvious answer to what happens. But if it's someplace else, nursing home, wherever it may be, a specific event, our health department's giving us some grace and we can keep people in the building potentially.
Correct. Yep, we will continue business as normal, and as we consult with them over the next business day or even into the weekend, we'll make appropriate decisions that are best fit for everyone, and then allow people to prepare from there.
That's great. Whatever it takes to keep people in the building this year, I'm sure, as everybody believes that to be the best option. I'm glad to hear that we're making wise decisions about the red status versus just like original, come down and shuts everything down.
Because there could be a high chance if it is an isolated outbreak and it doesn't impact our community and our students, and it's a distant, remote location, then we'd probably stay business as usual. But again, we'll make that decision in consultation with the health department.
It's good to hear.
And I've just been so pleased from what I take is that our health department has stepped alongside us, if you will, to try to make the decisions that are best and that are real for Williams County. I know I said today more than once, I know we're not immune, I know we're not in a bubble here, but we are fortunate that we are not some of those highly urban areas where they are dealing with many difficulties as far as the level of the COVID, and it just seems like, again, blessing a somewhat small town, small community, to be able to partner closely with our health department in real time and make some of those decisions.
Couldn't have said it better. They've been phenomenal from top to bottom, all the way around. Even proactive approaches. They held a meeting today with us in our school, our county superintendents and school nurses, just to have a proactive thought process on situations that we might be facing as we come back with students in the building. So cannot say enough about our Williams County Health Department and all they're doing, and I just hope they sleep at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some days where they feel like they didn't, especially when things are changing. Okay, anything else for Mark related to COVID? Okay, moving on to any new business. Don't see anything there listed. Superintendent's recommendations, please.
Yeah, so there's quite a slew of them here, so pause me at any point if you have any questions, and I'll go through and give a brief overview of all of these agreements and the recommendations for approval here. So the first one is we have a very well-deserved congratulations to Damian Blake for meeting all of the graduation requirements for the 2019-2020 school year. It's been a journey for Mr. Blake, and we are very happy for his accomplishments and wish him all the best as he pursues his future endeavors. The next one is an agreement with the University of Toledo School Psychology externship. So for the second year now, Mrs. Savage worked with the University of Toledo to bring in more members to help our school psychology department. This is the second year of having an extern, and we also now have an intern. I'll get to that in a little bit. But right now, this agreement allows a University of Toledo student to come into our facilities and work with our school psychology department 3 days a week. It's a win-win for both parties because they get the experience to help them pursue their credentials, but we also get to utilize them and use their work output to help us with testing and reporting and all that comes with the mandates of our school psychologists. So it's a win-win, and it's at no cost to the district, and so we're in our second year of having a UT extern, and I will talk about the intern once we get to some personnel recommendations. The next agreement is with the Midwest Regional ESC, and they provide services to one of our students who is in need of vision services. So this is an agreement with them to have them come on-site in the district and provide those services. Next agreement is with the Wood County Educational Service Center. This is an annual action. In the event that we would ever have a student placed into a juvenile retention center in Wood County, this agreement allows the Wood County ESC to provide them or provide that student educational services, and we in turn pay for those services at a per diem rate. The next two agreements are very similar here, one with Northwest State Community College and one with Defiance College. It allows both of them to allow our students into our facilities to work with our staff members to obtain their credentialing. Northwest State Community College has a paraprofessional and early childhood program, and the agreement with Defiance College is based around placing student teachers in with our teachers to get their experiences. So it allows them to obtain their training hours and work towards their credentialing. The next one, maybe you've seen some news stories about this, maybe not, but this is a resolution to be a part of a class action lawsuit against the company called Purdue Pharma. Purdue Pharma is a creator of opioids, specifically Oxycontin, and it was determined that the creation of opioids and the integration of those, the distribution of those all across the state and nationally, that they caused increased costs for school districts, specifically in areas of special education and beyond with special services. So there is a class action lawsuit being filed against Purdue Pharma in which Ohio school districts are joining in to file against Purdue Pharma. And this action comes at no cost to the district. It was highly recommended by our legal team to join in with this class action lawsuit. And in turn, if the lawsuit comes out in favor of the Ohio school districts will receive some financial statements back. So it is at no cost to the district. It is at no work to the district to be a part of this class action lawsuit. And the legal teams will handle the matter and keep us up to date with the outcomes of that lawsuit. The next one is a resolution for the Ohio School Council. This is a purchasing group that we utilize to help offset some of the costs of the equipment that we buy. They provide us services to get those at a much lower cost, so we go through them. Next resolution here, or agreement, is for an update to our remote learning plan. So during the month of July, the Ohio Department of Education required us to adopt a remote learning plan that we would follow. Over the course of time, we became more specific with what details needed to be in that plan. So this is somewhat of an addendum to that plan. We specifically updated our student attendance policy, and we updated it with a language saying that student attendance will be tracked via the completion of lessons and assignments, and students are expected to participate in the learning process during each scheduled day of the remote learning process. So it gives us a bit more detail on how we're tracking attendance, because the state of Ohio is requiring us to track attendance even if we do go into a remote learning situation. The next item here is an MOU with the Mentors for Williams County. This is a new group that's being established here across the county, in which they are working and striving to provide positive and beneficial resources to our youth. So they are in their initial stages of formation, and they would like to first work with Bryan schools before taking their services across the entire county. So we would love to partner with them and agree that they can set up some of our students who are experiencing challenges or going through difficult times, that they can be set up with a positive mentor and a positive role model to help work through some of the situations that they may be faced with. Our school social workers, our guidance counselors are very much open to this, because this provides another resource for them to provide a positive role model for our students to work with. And they are going to provide all of those services to the student right during our school day in our school facilities. So it seems like a win-win for all parties, and we thank them for their efforts to get this organization started. The next recommendation here is the approval of girls golf as a club sport. So for the first time in quite some time, if not ever, I'm still learning some history, but we have enough females on our golf team to potentially form a varsity girls sport out of it. As we follow history and tradition at Bryan City Schools, anytime we have the potential to form a team for the first time to become a varsity sport, we take the steps to first make them a club sport. And what that allows us to do is first feel out, how does this work? Do we have the commitment levels from these student athletes? Do we have the ability to make a full schedule? Do we have the ability to find a coach or an advisor? Do we have the ability to put the program together and make it official? And it takes some trial and error sometimes. So this has recently been done in the recent past, a few years, well, many years ago now, I'll say, with the girls soccer program, and more recently with our girls bowling program, both of which are now varsity sports. And that's the end goal, is to get them to that varsity sports approval status. But if we move in the direction of making them a club sport first, it will allow us to work out the kinks. Mr. Savage is currently in the midst of scheduling matches for them so they can compete female sport to female sport against other schools. He's working out some of the logistics within the league, because right now there are approximately 5 teams within the league that have girls golf, and we would make a 6th. And I hope I'm right in saying that it could make a 7th down the road eventually if another school is on board as well. So we are looking to recommend this become a club sport first, with all the intention to monitor this progress throughout the season, to then maybe come back to the board in future years and approve this as a varsity sport. It's a great stepping stone to get up there. So those are my recommendations.
2 quick questions for you, Mark.
Yep.
If you don't mind. Can the same coach both boys and girls, since they're smaller teams typically?
Correct, and I forgot to leave that out. Actually, Todd Groshine is our golf coach, and he will be overseeing boys golf, and if this gets approved as girls club sport, he will oversee that as well.
And then even if it goes full varsity sport, it can be still...
It has the potential to still be one coach.
Can you expound a little on the remote learning plan for how that'll work for working families and those that are gonna be home, if anybody's at home watching, how the attendance piece is gonna be tracked for those that are working?
Yep. So we have asked our teaching staff through our meetings and communications coming back to school that if we go into a remote learning model, that all of the assignments that are administered in a fashion that the student or the family could complete those at any point in the day. So a teacher, for example, might schedule assignments to be issued at a specific time. They might come out at 8:30 in the morning. That's actually what we're requiring them at the latest to come out to the families so they're aware of what the plans are for that day. But they may schedule a Google Meets video conference with their students. They may have assignments that are given that require them to watch videos or to listen to excerpts at different links. We're asking that if anything is done in a live fashion, that is all recorded and then uploaded to their Google Classroom, or for the younger grade levels, their Seesaw account, so that if you have a working parent at home that is unable to help monitor the progress of the completion of their homework, they can do that at any hour of the day, and they can submit that work at any point in the day. The tracking of attendance comes in and tracking it through the completion of those assignments, so that we know that those students and families are checking into their learning process each day, and they can see through the completion or through the submission of those assignments that they are not just negating school for 2, 3, 4 days at a time, but they are making the attempt to log in, to follow the assignments, to complete it, and then ultimately submit it. So we are, depending on the assignment, some projects can be assigned on a Monday and maybe not due till the following Friday. It might be a 2-week span. But the teacher can then, it might revolve around a little bit of backlogging. It might be a little retroactive with attendance. Because if they get to that following Friday and they see that Timmy hasn't done anything for 2 weeks, they're going to contact Timmy, and if he doesn't have a response or a plan laid out as to what he was doing, then absences could be documented for his lack of work on specific days.
It's a tough scenario. It's going to be tough. Hope we never have to do that this year, but it's just going to be a challenging thing for many, I think. So
We've tried to add a bit more structure to it this year. We haven't gotten the remote learning plan in discussions yet, or if we have, I didn't allude to this, in that we look at instructional days to be more Monday through Thursday, in which new material is administered, new concepts are given, teachers give new lessons, and then Friday is more of a day to allow the students to catch up, to review. The family maybe they didn't get to a certain reading or a certain worksheet, and have the ability to have the time on their hands to do that, and then turn that in still for credit at a later date. Just kind of a catch-all day. There might be assessments administered on those days and tests and quizzes given. But again, just that day of, we know lives are busy, we know that people, when they're working full-time and educating at home, it's 2 full-time jobs. So just to give a little leeway there to help alleviate some of that stress.
Anything else?
Yeah, I have one more question,
Yes.
Mark. On the, and maybe you'll get to this, but, so the school site part that we talked about here is the externship. The next part of the personnel is the internship. Is that 28 plus K grant that Chad talked about for the internship or the externship?
It's for the internship, and I tell you, if we want to move first on the recommendations, then we can.
Well, the only reason I said that, because you said it at no cost to us for the externship, but it looked like there was a one-time payment to the University of Toledo
Okay.
in that exhibit. I just wasn't,
Okay.
I wasn't
Yeah.
sure.
So with the one-time payment, I will defer that to Kevin or Diana. That was probably made before some of the transition. But I do know, to answer your question about the internship, the grant funds that Mr. Bassett alluded to are going to be utilized to offset the cost to that student that's interning with us in order for them to finish out their credentialing.
Okay.
And there's some other very minimal costs associated with the internship in regards to some of the benefits and wages that we have to encompass, but it's under $1,000 or right around $1,000. And then the other $28,000 covers the remainder of that internship with us.
Okay. So the externship does not have any cost from us.
And I'll jump in, Scott, and you are correct, we are invoiced by the University of Toledo.
Usually it's a one-time.
It's a one-time,
Right.
and it's to participate in this program.
Okay.
So you are correct, there is a minimal cost. I think this time it was between 10 and, I'm going off 10 and 15,000. But that allows us to continue to partner with them and participate in these
Okay,
programs.
so that keeps us in the program.
Yes,
But and then the grant and part that Chad talked about will be specifically for the intern.
specifically for the internship.
And that basically is going to go right back to the University of Toledo.
That
And-
actually goes through us and to Adam.
Yeah, it pays for a modest salary
Oh, okay.
for the intern,
Okay.
which we have set to basically use just his salary plus benefits will be a couple $100 more than what the total of the grant is for the year. And then we'll also incur a few costs for some professional development type things. That's where we estimate the total cost of the intern to be under $1,000, considering those things to the school district.
Okay. It just seemed like last year we paid the university,
We did, but
but
that's
that
the
was to
part
be in the program.
in the program.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a huge benefit
Oh,
to the
great.
district
Yeah, I
in
just
the
was-
sense that we get those services because they can
Absolutely.
complete so many things for us that helps, that otherwise, when you look at the salary, if it would be needed to have another school psychologist, the expense would be
Right.
quite a bit more. So given, I don't want to make it sound like we're bargain, but it's a benefit to them and to us in that way.
Correct.
So,
Well, thank you, Diane, and thank you,
Yep.
Kelly, for the help with that history there. I hope that helps.
It does. I was just trying to clarify where that was.
Yep.
What that grant, I knew we got the grant, but it was wondering what we were using it for.
Okay, all good questions. Anything else? All right, if not hearing any, I would accept a motion for our recommendations here from Mark, our superintendent.
Sure, I'll make that motion to accept the superintendent's recommendations.
Thank you, Scott.
And administrative recommendations.
Thank you, Mike.
Deb,
Yes.
Dustin,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
thank you.
Moving to personnel recommendations.
All right, so the first one is exactly that, so if there's any other questions, let me know, but yes, this is a huge benefit to us. Adam is in his second year, he's an intern with us, and as we just discussed, he is paid with those grant funds for his services, those go directly back to him, and it's, again, a win-win. He works towards his credentialing, and we receive those very beneficial services. So Adam is working both in this building and at the middle school, high school, across the district. Next up, we have a new hire of classified staff. We have Linda Miller. She is going to be working in the lunchroom, and that's for 3.5 hours per day. We've had some, moving on here to the involuntary transfers of certified personnel. We had, I'll jump down to a resignation here in letter F. We have a resignation of a third grade teacher. That was effective August 13th. It was a very late resignation last week. And Stephanie Roofer decided to pursue a career path at a different district at this point. So we wish her all the best, but that did lead to us needing to fill a vacancy with a very short amount of days left before the school year starts. So we were fortunate in that we were able to have appropriate licensures and appropriate numbers that allowed us to make some internal shifts. So you will see the involuntary transfer, although it is voluntary. The staff member is very much in favor of their move. So you'll see Casey Clemens moving to third grade teacher effective last Friday. And then we needed to fill Casey Clemens' position since she moved into a regular ed classroom. She was formerly an intervention specialist. So Paige Gansmiller, this was based on enrollment numbers in her behavioral unit. We were able to then shift her into the intervention specialist at the third grade level. So at this point, that leaves our behavioral unit vacant at this point, but our numbers allow for that to happen. So we have every intent that as numbers, or if numbers increase down the road in future years, that we may have to re-implement that position for our elementary. But for the current school year, that is yet another cost savings through attrition. We also have the transfer of classified personnel. We have the transfer of Candy Schaefer to the study hall aide position for 4.75 hours per day over at the middle school, high school. And we have Jill Pittman transferring to a new educational aide role at the middle school, high school building for 5 hours per day. Jill is also on our recall list as one of the first staff members to be recalled to a full-time aide position. The 5 hours per day also allows her, just to make a note here, they allow her to maintain her benefits with the district, which is she's very appreciative of. We also have a change in hours of our classified personnel. This is to accommodate some of our busing routes. Shelley Duran is an educational aide at the elementary building. She has had her time now adjusted, or at least that's the recommendation, to 6 hours per day in the building, which then allows her outside of the building time to drive bus in the morning. We have always a need, and I'll put in a little plug while we're at it too, we always have a need for bus drivers. So if anyone's interested in driving a bus or knows of someone, tell them to contact Bryan Everly and we will gladly assist them. But this allows her to drive bus in the morning as well by the adjustment of these hours. Then we have the approval of our bus and van driver hours for the 2020-2021 school year. You'll see in the exhibit that all of our drivers bid on their routes, and that the exhibit will show all of the hours that they will be driving those routes. Down to resignations, again, we talked about Stephanie Roofer, our third grade teacher, who resigned last week. We also had the resignation of Cher Robb as bus driver, Nancy Michael from her educational aide position, and Dan Federke from his lunch worker position, but I will note that Dan will still maintain his bus driver status with Bryan City Schools. So we wish all of those members the best of luck with their future endeavors. We also have the approval of certified and classified substitutes. These individuals will be added to our substitute lists. They are Michaela Dennis, Randy Luke, Gary Beck, and Norma Beck. You will see in the exhibits the approval of our 2020 and 2021 fall athletic department workers. These are all the employees that make the wheels go round for any home event that we host, anywhere from score clock keeping to scoreboard running to ticket taking, you name it, they do it. So that allows the events to be run in extremely great fashion, as they always are. You'll see a non-renewal of a substitute. This individual has asked to be removed from our substitute list to pursue other options, so we will remove Sarah from our substitute list. And then I do have an addendum. I know it's not noted on here. This was a little bit late breaking. I apologize, but we had previous language that stated that the athletic director position, to avoid conflict of interest, would report directly to the director of secondary education. That was in effect last school year in my former role. But now, since we have eliminated some of the conflict of interest with the superintendent role, the athletic director is now being recommended to report directly to the superintendent. And we also have the absence of the director position as well, since that position is not being filled this time. So I apologize, it's a late breaking addendum. With that, those are all the personnel recommendations.
Okay. So with the fall athletic worker positions, those are if the work is completed, like if we had seasons, they're not.
Right, and when you approve the fall athletic worker pay rates, those are all per game rates.
Correct.
So if there is no game, then there is no pay.
Correct.
I will also note that I am listed as one of the fall athletic workers.
Okay, very good. Also, in light of remote learning, some students choosing the ACE, could you share how that impacted the number needing transportation as we look here at a bus driver leaving and?
Yeah, so as of last check, of those approximately 230 students that enrolled in ACE, around 80 or a few more have been removed from our bus routes, which has actually been a benefit to our transportation department. With us being down 4 drivers, that has allowed us to consolidate some routes appropriately and make sure that we have sufficient means to get all the students to and from school.
Thank you. Anything else? Not hearing, I will accept the motion.
I will make a motion on the personnel recommendations provided by Mr. Ritter.
Thank you, Dustin.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Scott.
Dustin?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Thank you.
And next, we have an emergency policy reading for OTES.
Yeah, so the teacher evaluation system known as OTES, Ohio Teacher Evaluation System, has been in place for quite some time. But last year they came out with, they're calling it OTES 2.0, and that was pre-COVID, supposed to be implemented for the 2020-2021 school year. However, COVID has created many shifts, and districts are now not required to mandate OTES 2.0 until next school year. However, the policy for OTES 2.0 still needs to be approved by September 1st of 2020. So the new policy outlines what OTES 2.0 looks like, and in just a brief highlight for you, it has made some shifts in putting a greater focus. If a teacher is on a what is known as a full OTES cycle or a full evaluation cycle for that school year, they will still have one all-encompassing evaluation, whereas in the past they had two. They will still have a second evaluation, but that will not be an all-encompassing evaluation in the future. With the 2.0, it will be specific in which the evaluator will work with the teacher to focus on the teacher's professional goals and maybe areas of growth that they need to reach. So that will be taking place, again, next school year. There's also been some changes to data. In the past, we had student learner objectives in which you set goals for students to reach certain data points. The new OTES 2.0 still has a focus on data, but that data is more holistic, and the evaluator works with the teachers on specific criteria to help them increase the student growth. So it's not just limited to that student learning objective. It has more bits and pieces to it, if you will, to follow and track student growth through data. So those are some of the significant changes coming with 2.0. And again, our administrators will be trained on that sometime later this spring to then implement fully with the 2021-2022 school year. So we work with BEA on successful implementation of that and review of all of this criteria so we can make sure we're all on the same page heading into the next school year.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else for that item? Okay, hearing none, I would accept a motion to approve that policy.
I motion to accept the SD's 2.0 teacher evaluation.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Mike.
Mike?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Dustin?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, points of information. Seeing that I
Yeah, so I think we established, I think this is open for conversation, but due to COVID, we have our next board meeting set for September 21st. We established that to be right here, at least for the foreseeable future. Is that something that everyone is still in agreement with, to host our board meetings at this location?
Yes. As long as it doesn't make too much work for staff too. I mean, moving tables out every time, I know it's work for staff, so I think we can work around some extra seating or whatever, just so it's not a burden on people here too. I think it's better, but.
Okay. Yeah, if we receive any feedback that it becomes too strenuous and time might become a challenge for the custodial staff, we'll definitely reconsider the location.
I just like the fact that we have space for public or for guests that doesn't allow us to do that in a smaller board.
And it's only once a month.
Right.
I'm sorry.
It's only once a month, it's not like we're making do it every
Oh,
week.
correct. Yeah. Okay, very good.
And then next up, our LPDC, Local Professional Development Committee, has yet to determine the next meeting date as we enter this school year, so they can start reviewing the professional development that goes towards the renewal of teacher licensures.
Very good. Okay, Kevin, do we have any?
I am unaware of any reason to enter executive session at this point.
Any other discussion or comments?
We may just need to take a look at, looking ahead, we may need to take a look at November 16th.
Okay.
Because there is a girls' basketball junior high scrimmage that evening, and so there may be a little bit of a conflict. So we'll check on that. But we look good for September and October.
Thank you. All right. Anything else? All right. Very good. I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you, Scott.
Second.
Thank you, Dan.
Scott?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Dusty?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.